right, 25 minutes before 11 o'clock. Joe Reichel is in the studio, ready to answer your questions about what he does. And I saw on Facebook we've got an interesting topic today. If you would like to be on the show and ask Joe a question, or is Rob here today?
Nope.
Just you?
Flying solo today.
Flying solo. If you have a question, just want to join the conversation, you are invited to do so. The phone number is the WOCA Climate Control Source Hotline, 622-9622. Joe Reichel, of course, is your host. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, Larry.
So a car ran into a house?
Car in a house. This happens
recently?
More than, yeah, damage is still fresh. I went out there this morning, took pictures of the house, and the car was sitting right there. So
was the driver of the car a member of the family of that house?
She is renting the house.
Okay, so it's her house.
Well, she's a renter,
well,
yeah.
But, I mean, it wasn't like somebody drove off the road. What'd she do, go forward when she should have gone backwards?
Actually, she was trying to pull in the driveway and hit the corner of the house with the front bumper of her car. So.
And anything collapsed?
No, it busted the block. The home was built in 1950. The addition the part of the addition that she hit, so it isn't built to current codes. Unfortunately, for the owner of the home, if it would have been built to modern day codes, there wouldn't be much damage at all because
really?
it would have been poured solid. The corner.
Okay. So the car would have been more damaged.
There would have been a lot more damage to the car. So as it is, it's just a block structure, and the block busted out, and there's a few scrapes on the older Mustang.
Okay.
So, I mean, you wouldn't even really know the car hit a house.
And she's okay?
And she's okay. So fortunately, everybody's okay. It's just
Did she call you?
Jarred the building pretty good. The owner of the structure called a mason, GP Masonry, and he called us yesterday, and I called her and set up to go out there to see her. So, and then this morning I get a call that there was a fire in a farm up in Micanopy. So while I was in Reddick, I then drove up to Micanopy and looked at
bad fire?
Not too bad. It's
was it caused by was it a brush fire caused fire, or
no? This was a cooking caused fire in an apartment in a stable in a farm up there. So
wow, an apartment in a stable.
Yeah. No
horsing around there, huh?
No horsing around there.
Or maybe plenty of horsing around.
Actually, there is. There's a lot of horses on that farm.
Oh wow! So I mean, you don't know each day what you're gonna do.
That's the interesting thing about what we do. We can have plans, but a phone call can change our whole day.
Here's just an observation, Joe. You and the Sobieskis, you have skills. You have building skills, and you took it to a different. You thought outside the box, not to use a cliche, because everybody does, but you're using your skills in a way that's different than other people with your same skills. I mean, you're marketing yourself in such a different way,
right? By
talking about fixing things that are broken rather than building from the ground up or just plain renovating.
Exactly.
Good for you. I mean, that's awesome. That's real thinking.
This part of our company started in 2009. We had a tree fall on my father-in-law's mother's home and Rob's grandmother's home.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever this happened, we knew we were going to rebuild it because we had built the home, but we had never worked with insurance companies. So we hired a friend of ours who was a private adjuster,
right,
to help us with pricing it. And in the process, he looked at us and he said, "Why don't you guys do this? Why don't you, start doing insurance-related work?" And Mike and I and my father-in-law, we looked at each other and said, "Why not?"
Yeah, really?
So Mike and I went to school to learn how to do fire restoration and water restoration. And that's kind of how it got started.
Wow.
So I was, my job was, being in the field, doing the actual work and job site superintendent. And then when we started this part of it, my father-in-law said, "You're going to do our sales and marketing." And I had no clue what I was in for.
You're going to have a radio show.
Yeah, now I have a radio show.
Wow.
But, yeah, and my job with damage control is to go out and do all the things in the public, as far as everything with the chamber, with the CEP, Chamber and Economic Partnership. I'm an ambassador there, and a lot of community related things, just to get our name out there so that people know what we do.
Yeah, you do a lot. Yeah.
Typically people don't know what to do or who to call whenever they have a disaster. They'll call their insurance company, and the insurance company will send an adjuster out there, but they don't know who to call, so they'll ask, who should I get to do this work, and there's a couple other companies out there.
By the way, my son called you.
Okay.
Did he identify himself as my son?
I don't think so.
Well, he had an issue, and maybe you could address this just real quickly.
Sure.
Unless a call comes in, then I'd rather you take their call. But I guess he's resolved the problem. He called me. He said something about I can't remember the initials he used now, but it was like on the circuit breaker. Some of his outlets went out, and they have these circuit breakers, intermittent something. Help me out here.
I don't know.
And anyway, it was just Robin's husband explained what they are. Is
Okay.
They will turn off the power when there's moisture somewhere.
Like a GFI?
That's it, GFI. Those are the initials. Okay. So he said he's got GFI circuit breakers. So now, of course, I don't know what a GFI circuit breaker is. And then I said, well, call Joe. I told him to call you, and you would at least direct him to somebody. And I guess you did. Maybe you didn't realize he called you. Or maybe he spoke to Rob or Mike or something.
He might have called one of them. I don't remember speaking to him.
Right.
I did talk to someone, trying to think who it was now, about an electrical problem. I don't think it was your son, though.
Okay, so let me take that and kind of parlay it into a question.
Okay.
Okay.
Bring on the question.
What's it called, GFI?
Mm-hmm.
If the GFI circuit breaker is designed to trip when there's moisture in the area, that sounds like it's telling you there's a leak somewhere, or at least water is rising or trickling or something, right?
Well, it's not just designed for water.
Okay.
If there's too much power being used at a certain spot, it'll also trip. But water is typically they're used in a bathroom.
Now that's the one on the outlet itself, right?
Right.
Okay.
I'm not real certain about I'm not an electrician, so I'm not really sure about all of that. But they are designed for safety in mind, so that people don't get hurt, and they will trip before they start a fire or whatever.
Well, I guess my thought was that if you have a leak that you don't know about, let's say a little tiny leak, a pinhole, less than a pinhole in a copper line or something.
That's a bad leak, though.
Really?
Mm-hmm. A pinhole leak will cause a lot of damage.
Okay, so let's say it trips the circuit breaker, but you haven't felt any squishy carpet yet. So that's what I'm getting at, is that maybe that...
It really would depend where the water would be going in order to trip the breaker.
Okay. You have a phone call. Let's take that call. By the way, everybody's invited to call Joe right now. The number is the WOCA Climate Control Source Hotline, 622-WOCA. Good morning. You're on the air with Joe Reichel.
Good morning. I think you might be able to settle a dispute between my lovely wife and this caller.
That's not the kind of damage that I control.
She watches a lot of those shows on TV where people go look at houses and stuff. She loves that. It's like pornography for her. And the other day they had one that had a show about a water leak. And here's my question. We have an air conditioner. It's a window unit, but it's mounted on a wall. Okay?
Okay.
And it drips water, when it's running. And it drips onto a concrete patio, and where the patio meets the wall, there's a seam.
Right.
And some of the water runs out across the little patio, and some of it gets down in that seam. And my wife, after watching these TV shows, she's now convinced that there's going to be a gigantic erosion problem because that water is dripping down between the seam of the house and the seam of that slab. So can you answer that question?
As far as will there be an erosion problem? Is that
right?
Is that the question?
That's the question.
I would typically think not with that type of a leak or that type of a water situation. If you had running water, more like a running water issue coming through there, yes, you possibly could have erosion. A lot would depend too on the elevation of the home, how the ground slopes away from, or the area. But I would, if I'm going for a yes or no answer, I would typically say no with that sort of a situation. However, if you wanted to alleviate all possible problems and make sure that the wife was happy, which I'm sure that's something you want to do.
You can say that again, brother.
you maybe go to somewhere and get some silicone type caulking. They have different joint expansion caulking for concrete use, and you could fill that hole there, and that would keep the water from going down in there. But
Great.
I mean, really, I mean, the only concern that I would have with that water going in there, that would attract termites and things like that. But I would not worry so much about erosion.
Okay, I'll get some heavy-duty sealant put in there. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Hope that solves the dispute.
Oh, I'm going to tell her we spoke over dinner tonight. Thank you very much.
And have her call me if she has any questions.
Oh wow! So the winner is is him, because she's happy.
Yeah, he's happy. If she's happy, he's happy, right?
Yeah, not because one's right, but because
right.
Whatever.
Typically, marital disputes are not damage that I control, though. I don't do anything. We don't do anything with marriage problems or teenagers.
Wait a minute, you might though. I mean, what if some guys will put their fist through the wall?
We have fixed that kind of damage. Yeah.
So there's one right there. Good morning. You're on there with Joe.
Yeah. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning.
Yes. If you would have a pipe failure in your foundation, is there any way to fix that, or do you have to reroute the pipe?
Well, a lot depends where the pipe is. Sometimes there's two different answers for that question. I mean, you can dig into and get into that area, depending where it is, either tearing it up through the floor to get to it. Some homes we have tunneled under the home in order to get to a pipe leak, wherever a leak would be.
Yeah.
But then sometimes, depending on what it is, sometimes the best option is to just replumb through the walls and up through the attic area, and then back in. So, really you need to weigh your options whenever something like that happens.
Yeah.
Sometimes people don't want to tear up the inside of their home.
Oh, that'd be terrible.
So they choose to, replumb, back up and through the attic.
Yeah.
So, then you've got to insulate the pipes, because, when the water's going through the pipes in the attic, in the wintertime like this, when we have freezing temperatures, you can have a pipe break, or in the summertime, that line it gets, very warm in the attic. So if you're trying to get cold water, it takes forever to get cold water.
Yeah.
In the wintertime like this, when you're trying to get hot water, it takes a little extra. So really it depends. It depends, on what you as a homeowner wants.
Yeah.
What what you're wanting as far as a finished product, and also the different variables that are involved. So.
Yeah. How do you locate where the problem would be? Because the pipe is encased in concrete, and it's not going to leak in the house. There's no way it's going to come through the concrete.
Oftentimes it does. You'd be surprised.
How does it do that? I mean, I don't understand. I mean, that's concrete's concrete.
Well, concrete is, but you have cracks in concrete, and it is porous, and it will. Yeah. Concrete, even though it's a hard material, it will absorb. It will soak the water up. Yeah. And water has to go somewhere. So it'll either come up. And there again, depending on the elevation, sometimes and where the plumbing leak is, sometimes it will come out. We've had some leaks that the exterior of the house, like around the house, the ground was saturated.
Oh boy.
We have had several where in a bedroom or a bathroom, the floor is just soaking wet because the water is coming up through the slab, and really you don't know exactly where it is. So we work with different leak detection companies, and some plumbers can do leak detection as well.
Yeah.
But typically, we'll call in a leak detection company, and they will, within a foot, be able to tell you, and sometimes closer, where that leak is. They have technology that they're able to use to, once they pinpoint, they'll locate where the leak is, and then we'll dig up that area.
Yeah.
Or
what would cause a pipe to leak in a foundation? It's not going to be the weather because it's protected, underneath the house. I mean, what could possibly break a line?
Well, it really depends. Sometimes it can be the weather. Sometimes it's just age, and then also depending on the materials that are used.
Yeah.
A lot of times, what we find is the CPVC, the plastic piping that they use now.
Right.
It will harden, and it'll create a crack in there.
Oh.
And then two.
Is that because of age? You mean?
Sometimes, yeah, because of age and just the type of material that it is. Copper lines. Copper lines you'll wear a pinhole leak in it.
Yeah.
Depending on what type of water you have, depending on the type of soil that you have, the acidity in the soil and whatnot, it will create a leak in certain spots. So, oftentimes we find these in elbows where there's a turn or something, and and there too, it's a matter of maybe a weakness in the pipe when it was made.
Yeah. If you were to build a home, would it be maybe a good idea to run no piping in the foundation before, because you don't want that problem, because it's to be such a terrible thing to happen, and just run it around the foundation and protect it that way? Would that be better off?
I've never thought about that.
Yeah.
I mean, you would be able to have access to it, but somehow you've got to get it into interior walls and plumbing, wherever you have wherever you have your interior plumbing at. So you would have to be able to, take it into the house somewhere and somehow.
Evidently, it's not a common practice to do it that way.
No, it's typically you run it, under the slab, wherever throughout the house, and.
I know from down the block where I'm living, they're building a home right now, and my God, it's got miles and miles of piping. Going to be concrete's going to be poured on top of it. I thought, boy, you get a problem anywhere here. Man, oh man, that's going to be terrible to try to locate. Well, not locate it, but to fix it. And I was thinking maybe just running around out on the outside and somehow and then coming in.
And there are too, a lot of times they will run it overhead in different different situations. It really all depends on what it is and what they're wanting.
Yeah. Is it a problem you come across often, or once in a while, or?
Plumbing issues are a constant problem in homes.
Yeah, I mean in the foundation, though.
Yes.
They are, huh?
And I mean they are a common problem.
Right.
So. I mean, it's not something that not every home is going to have a problem, but there are a good share, a good amount of slab. We call them slab leaks. Because it's in the slab or in the foundation. So there are a good amount of. I mean, I wish I kind of knew the numbers on that just to give. I'll do some research on that. Maybe next week's show I'll be able to have something for you, but. There are a good amount of, plumbing leaks caused by plumbing in the slab. Typically, I mean, the majority of the ones, we had one last week, it was the supply line behind the commode that was leaking. So, and we've had several of those. So.
Okay, well, thanks for your answer, and I hope nobody ever has that problem, because I just couldn't imagine somebody coming in your house, removing tile, and then drilling around the concrete to fix a pipe. I think you'd probably be just better off running it around somewhere else, coming in.
Yeah, we've had several. We've had to pull the carpet back in order to dig out an area.
Tile or wood floor or whatever,
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, bye now.
Thanks for the call.
Okay, we got enough time if you want to make a phone call to Joe right now. The number is the Climate Control Source Hotline, 622-9622 for damage control. Control the damage.
We control the damage.
So it sounds like the job you had with the car hit the house was a very small job.
It is a smaller job.
Good. That's good news for her, right?
Well, it is good news, but I mean, I'm not real sure. And there's several cracks now caused by this. I recommended for her to call a structural engineer. I gave her a card for a one here in town, and he'll be able to take a look at it and further decide what she needs to do.
You know, I rented a house in Bellevue, and it was a block house, and it had this staircase crack in it. And I lived there like 10 years, and I used to fill it with this putty stuff that would harden just to keep you literally would get air coming in from outdoors, and then I assume bugs too if it didn't do anything about it. So is that the best? Did I do the best thing I could have done, or is there a way to actually, I guess, push the wall back in place? It almost looks like the wall separated.
Well, it really depends. I mean, it depends on the way the structure was built originally. I mean, it could be settling issues, as far as maybe the foundation wasn't poured. Doesn't have a proper foundation under it, so you could have settling. You could have movement because of sinkhole issues.
That story this week.
Yeah.
That was a horrible story, huh?
Terrible story.
Did they ever find that man?
No. Not that I'm aware of. Yeah. They didn't find the guy, but
I mean, can you imagine that? Waking up, you hear a sound that they described it as it sounded like a car hit the house.
Yeah.
They open the bedroom door and the bedroom's gone.
Yeah.
I mean, everything's down in a hole. Wow.
Yeah, it's terrible. So, I mean, that could be an issue as far as if you have cracks in your home, or it could just be settling. What do you do in a case like that? Well, you could have testing done. You could have a company like Geotech come out and test the area as far as the soil and see what, test to see if you have a sinkhole or if it is just settling. And then you can have companies, like Secure Foundations or the different sinkhole companies come out and fix the foundation, fix that type of area. So, I mean, there are lots of just settling issues, though, versus sinkhole issues. So, really, it depends what it is. And, I mean, did you do the best thing? Probably. There are a lot of different expandable caulks out there, like I was telling the guy earlier, that you can use to fill cracks up that will keep it from, they have sort of a stretch to them. So they will adhere, and as things, this weather like this where it thaws, it freezes and then thaws, and so you have expansion and contraction, you will have movement. So, if you use an expanding caulk of some sort, that's a good thing for a situation like that.
And it was this gap was getting wider over the course, and the only way I knew that was because of that filler.
Yeah, you kept putting stuff in.
Yeah, so and it was very slow, but something must have been settling constantly under that house, I guess.
Well, in a situation like that, it is very possible that there was the odd, sinkhole type of a situation.
The odd thing is the house next door, same design, same look. It was part of a little mini community at one time, had the same crack in the same place.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
So a lot of times it's, and that comes into play too as far as how things are built to begin with. So, if the foundation wasn't, as far as the footers of the home, if the footer isn't proper or isn't adequate for what you have, you could have an issue there. Or if the compaction of the soil wasn't done right, underneath the
Is there more than one type of a footer?
Yes, there's...
Do they have names?
Yes.
Is there a Frankfurter?
I don't believe so.
Sorry. I just had to
That
go
is
there.
pretty good, though.
I just had to go there.
That's good, though. I like that.
I mean, do they have names, seriously?
Yeah.
What? Like what?
Well, there's...
the Frank.
On the spot. No, monolithic is a type of a...
the monolithic footer.
Yeah.
Now, see, Dee should sell that.
I'm trying to think what the other one is. No, you got me. I know it's not Frank, though.
Well, Dee should sell a monolithic footer. I think.
There you go.
Have you ever seen these companies? And I guess you have. I guess you've worked with them, and they actually say they will put some kind of a support underneath your house to connect to something solid, so in case there is a sinkhole, you won't sink with it.
Right.
So what happens then? You're just kind of on stilts?
Well, they put like a sort of like a piling down underneath the home in order to support it.
Right.
You know, they drill down and then fill that with concrete in order to keep the home in position. So, yeah, we work with companies like that. There's, you know, like I was saying, Secure Foundations is one of them. Trying to think of what some of the other companies are, but there's all kinds of them out there as far as sinkhole companies.
Well, you don't know what you're gonna. You could get a call right now. Something you've never had before.
Always something exciting.
Wow. And so that makes my life more exciting. I live vicariously through you.
I like it.
Because you come in each week, something new.
Yeah, you have to tag along someday in the life of Joe Reichel.
See, we used to have a guy, and his whole show was about shoes. He had a shoe store, okay? And every week we talk about shoes, soles and tongues and laces, and it got boring. I mean, it was always the same thing.
Oh.
In your case, it's always something different. A car, a lightning strike, you know, and there's always something in the news.
Fires, floods, storm, tree damage.
Today in the news, this whole prairie on fire, and some homes, you know, gone.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Terrible, yeah. All right, Joe, thank you for what you do. Oh, we need your phone number so we can call you.
You can give me a call, 352-817-6574, or you can email me, joe@damageflorida.com.
All right, we'll follow you on Facebook, as I do. Right?
And follow me on Facebook.
Call here if you need any of that information repeated. We'll be glad to do that for you. Joe Reichel, Damage Control Services. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Larry.
We'll take a little break and be right back.
Damage control, damage control.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
ABC News Now. I'm Karen Chase. Stocks are trading in rarefied air. The Dow hit a new high this morning on the wings of optimism about China's economic growth and a jump in European retail sales. Flying to Chicago today? I don't think so. A major snowstorm has grounded over 1,000 flights to and from the city. The big storm is causing slow-motion misery from the Midwest to the East. 19 states are under winter weather advisories. A 17-year-old missing skier has been found alive at Maine's Sugarloaf Ski Resort 2 days after